So over the last few days, there's been protests, direct actions going on outside the Capitol, on the steps of the Capitol, um, and it's being hosted by a lot of people from Movement for the People's Party. Excuse me, Nick Brana is out there, Paula Jean Swearingen's out there, former Democratic Senate candidate for West Virginia, and Justice Democrat who's officially let loose on the Justice Democrats and acknowledges them for the frauds that they are. Paula Jean Swearingen was out there. Jackson Hinkle was out there. Afeni from Fred Hampton Leftist was out there. Franco from Frank Analysis. The typical suspects in terms of the activists in in left new media who are who can find themselves around the DC area during certain actions. They were all out there, and there were other people out there, and depending what day you look at, I would say it was around half the crowd or a little bit more than half the crowd than was out when the fraud squad was out there doing their PR stunt for the eviction moratorium. But and these are just regular people without 15 million Twitter followers. But so incredible credit for all the people who showed out there and made the demands for universal housing and to end this homelessness crisis in this country, and to stop the evictions and to cancel the rent. That's what needs to be happening. Those are the only viable options on the table, because letting 20 million people become homeless is not an option. That is not an option. That is beyond some failed state shit. So world of credit to all the people who were out there agitating and pressuring politicians to do their fucking job. And I say it all the time on this show, that is our only move at this point. That is our only move. And just like I said, we're not gonna get for the 20 million people facing imminent eviction, they're not gonna get any type of relief or their problem solved by donating to another politician. Their problems are not going to be solved by if Democrats win one more race, or if they win another Senate seat. That's not going to solve these people's problems. So their only option for those 20 million people and many other people who are in desperate situations in this country, the only option is to pressure the politicians to do their fucking job. And I just wish more people would understand that, because my God, it really does just feel like people just laying down and taking this shit. We can at least put up some signs of fight. We don't have to go down that fucking bad. Let them, because the fact that they couldn't just on a whim decide, you know what, we're going to allow 20 million people to get thrown onto the streets, and there's no pushback from the public. If this is going to be a vicious, rapacious oligarchy, let them have to work for that shit. I mean, there has to be some type of counter when they declare class war on an epic scale, like allowing the worst homelessness crisis, greenlighting the worst homelessness crisis in this history. Let them have to respond to the public. There has to be some type of counter to that shit. And as of now, the only people proposing a real counter is the people who were out there occupying Congress and raising hell to do something about this completely avoidable and easily solved homelessness crisis in this country. There are more empty houses, more vacant houses, multiple times more vacant houses than homeless people in this country. So there's that. And of course, you have all the empty hotel rooms because of the pandemic and all those things that could be filled. But another point that I want to mention about this is the way that the police responded to these activists out there on the steps of the Capitol. So when the fraud squad and Justice Democrats were out there doing their little PR stunt for 90% of eviction moratorium, which ended up getting slapped down by the Supreme Court just a couple weeks later. When they were out there doing that fucking stunt, the police they were so well behaved, you would have thought we were transported to a different fucking country. The police, there was no brutalizing protesters and activists in the streets. There was no, oh, let's shut down people's First Amendment rights to protest and address their grievances to their government. There was none of that. So, and on a side point, that tells me that they know how to fucking act, and they just choose to be lawless thugs and criminals and illegally and unconstitutionally break up protests when they feel like it. They know that they don't have to do that, and they know that people have the right to protest. So when they get the orders from on high, and this is something that was mentioned by Nick Brana and Paul G. Swearingen and Xenia Day, I believe it is, from Movement for a People's Party. Whoa, couldn't get that out. They were already doing a live stream with Jimmy Dore, and they were saying how they've talked to the Capitol Police several days that they've been out there. And the story that they were getting is that the Justice Democrats, the fraud squad, the Just Democrats, they got approval from Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy Pelosi told the Sergeant of Arms who's in charge of the Capitol Police, or the security on the Capitol, they told them to allow them to protest. So they got approval from Nancy Pelosi to do that bullshit stunt, which is arguably why they didn't make any real demands. So that's just another tally to put in this scorecard for how the Justice Democrats are a bunch of fucking frauds who will never cross the leadership of the Democratic Party. Even when it looks like they got the approval from the Democratic leadership to do so. But they did not have to face any type of police harassment. But the second that they did leave, the police were out there, everybody got to go home, breaking up protests and telling people to disperse and all those things. That was what was happening weeks ago after the little bullshit PR stunt at the steps of the Capitol. Now that activists are out there making real demands, and they aren't sanctioned by Nancy Pelosi, then now the Capitol Police are out there harassing the shit out of them, arresting them, doing false arrest. Yes, false arrest, which is a crime. Doing false arrest and false arrest are basically kidnapping. Doing false arrest of protesters for just standing out there on the steps of the Capitol, doing exactly what the Justice Democrats were doing. They were on their ass because they had sleeping. They made up rules like you're not allowed to sleep out there. You're not even allowed to have lawn chairs, which they all had lawn chairs out there a couple weeks ago. They said you couldn't have a megaphone or a blowhorn, whatever it is, the technical term. They said you couldn't have sound systems. All the things that were allowed when Justice Democrats were there, they've just arbitrarily decided that we aren't allowed when regular grassroots activists are out in the streets agitating for something. So I just want to highlight this because it seemed like last year, for the first time and only time in my life, there was a real acknowledgement among the public about how out of control and how lawless and unaccountable the police in this country are. Not just a couple of police officers, not just one police department, literally every single police department. And I have to repeat this because it seems like people forgot. Every single one of them were on camera violently and lawlessly brutalizing activists in the streets to illegally and unconstitutionally break up their First Amendment rights to protest. Not one of them, not two of them, not 20 of them, every single police precinct, every single department in this country was doing. So they're all lawless, every single one of them. And any police officer who watched their fellow officers do all that shit and they didn't intervene, Well, they're also criminals because it's against the law for the police officer to witness a crime and not do anything to stop it. So they all saw their if they weren't engaged in the criminal actions, they saw everybody in the police department doing, and they didn't do a fucking thing about it. So they're all fucking criminals, and they are wildly against free speech, as we've seen. And it's not like that was just a moment in time, and now it's a year later, and we have a whole new. It's the same fucking police force. Every time there's a direct action, anytime people are in the streets, it's the same fucking problem. They are going to come out there and bust up your constitutionally protected right to be in the streets and to protest, and have absolutely no justification for doing it, and nobody who's supposed to be overseeing them will ever press them on it. What all of the Congress was up in arms talking about, oh, January 6th, it was such a threat to our democracy and an affront to our democracy, and these people have no respect for our democracy that's been intact for over 200 years. All of that rhetoric and, oh, be afraid of our democracy under attack. I don't know how much more, how much bigger of a threat to democracy there is than a lawless, unaccountable, extremely violent criminal police state where the people who are supposed to be enforcing the laws are the most lawless and the most violent. And they will go after anybody who challenges power. I don't know what bigger threat to democracy there is than that. But I just want to make that point clear, because it is truly disgusting to see that, and it's not just a one-time thing. Every single time there's protest, that's or any type of direct action, the police are going to be there to serve their masters in the elite class, the ruling class, and it is really a jarring thing once you really acknowledge what the police are there. They're not there to protect you. They are there to protect capital. They are there to protect people with money and power, and they are there to keep the poors and the masses in line. That is what the police are there to do. Fuck everything else that you heard about it. So, again, massive credit to the people out there doing fucking something, because it cannot be overstated how dire the situation is right now. And if you are in this country and you are witnessing what's about to happen with what's currently happening with the millions of people, millions of families being thrown onto the streets, lives being ruined, evictions being put on their record, so that means it'd be damn near impossible for them to get any housing. If you're seeing all of this happening, if you're seeing the collapse of society and you aren't doing anything to push back, I'm judging you. It's gotten to the point where I'm judging you. So, again, massive credit to everybody who was out there. And I'm not sure if they're going to still be out there. I hope they are. I'll give them a shout out on Twitter if they are. But if you're in the area, please get out there. And there's also a general strike that's scheduled for October 11th, I believe. There apparently supposed to be more direct actions about the eviction crisis that's happening in this country. That's supposed to take place in other cities, and I'll let you know on Twitter if I hear anything about that. But let me know in the comment section what you guys think. As always, all the links to help support the show are in the description box. PayPal, Patreon, anything you could do to help support the show. I'm incredibly grateful, and all the people who've been commenting, all the people who donated, helped me upgrade the equipment for the show. I couldn't do any of this without you guys. So I have the best audience in YouTube, and I'm incredibly grateful for you.